And click, 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 click.
Alright, click, 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 click.
Click, 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 click. I'm just going to leave that in because this is a rough episode of Coprolalia, your podcast. This is your podcast that you're listening to. We made
Your
it,
podcast.
but it's yours. So enjoy your creation that we did for you. I'm Ryan Hamilton Smith, and I moved a house recently.
You moved a house?
I moved a house, and I'm a sleepy boy because of it. In retrospect, I should have left the house where it was, moved the stuff within it, but I decided I'm going to move the whole goddamn house.
Damn.
But now I'm in a new zone, baby. And with new zones comes new bones to uncover. New histories, new welcome mats to find your feet standing upon. New eyes to catch as they peer at you through windows. New cats to have cross your path. New trees.
New ladders to walk under.
New ladders to walk under. New
mirrors to break with your face in the United States.
New trails, new rails, new small snails.
And most correctly, a new house that you're in.
The moral of this story is I moved to a new apartment. And I get really stressed when I move, so I think I've just worn myself out. And I just have been struggling to get enough sleep. Though last night, my bloody brother, who I'm now living with, had a bit of a shindiggy boy in our apartment with some boys and gals, and they played Halo until the wee hours of the morning. So I was woken up.
I'm jealous. That's great.
I was woken up at 1 a.m. by Bren shouting, "You fucking dog cunt!" When he died, and then I couldn't get back to sleep.
Oh.
I did sleep, but anyway. I thought I'd just quickly talk about some news for me, which will probably trail off into our topics for today. Is that I'm taking a little bit of a break from my weekly cartoons, which I've been doing for over a year now.
You say weekly, but you really mean daily.
It's what I meant to say is daily. Thank you, Giles.
That's all right, because that goes from 52 to 365. So don't sell yourself short.
That's a big jump. But yeah, been keeping up on the daily cartoons for over a year, plus doing the pigeon cartoons 3 times a bloody week. And it's just been it's been good, but I'm worn out, and I think I'm just bored. I think I'm just bored of doing these cartoons, and I need to update them, upgrade them. They need a facelift or something. I don't know. I think I need a new perspective on life.
Nice. Basically, there are only very few things in life that are unchanging. So, as soon as you get a perspective that works, at some point something's going to change, which will require you to change your perspective as well.
Well, this is why I'm excited to move house and live with some other people. I think that'll be a good start. Is getting some new perspectives around me constantly, which would be a lot of fun.
Well, you've lived with your brother before, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's been a little while.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But he's also got friends. He's a social boy, and he brings people around. And those people have different opinions and different voices and different faces, and they're gonna change me.
They're gonna change you.
They're gonna change me.
Well, you gotta want to change as well. Remember that, Ray.
Well, I'm sick of this current state of affairs that I call my form and mind. But it got me. I was just thinking about I definitely kind of preach having a strong work ethic and putting out a lot of content and pushing yourself to work, which I stand by definitely to a degree. But I think I've kind of reached a point now where pushing myself to do that for a full year taught me how to work properly, how I can actually work on things and how I feel most comfortable. And now, constantly pushing myself is perhaps actually working against me, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's time to use what I've learned in terms of how I work and put it to bigger projects and to things that I'm more passionate about. Not that I'm not passionate about my cartoons. I want to take them further. I want to make them better. So I think I'm gonna, when I come back in a week's time, into doing cartoons, I'm not gonna be doing daily. I'm gonna be doing 3 times a week, maybe some pigeons, and focus on the podcast and get some other shit going.
Yeah, nice. I was sort of listening to some interviews with Dan Harmon, the guy who did Rick and Morty and Community.
Almost needs no introduction, but for the sake
And,
of podcast,
He has a lot of deadlines. He has a strict work ethic as well. Ethic.
So I'm a real gassy boy. My digestive system's all fucked up. I think it's actually from like stressing and also eating pizza almost every fucking night.
Oh man.
Continue your story.
I empathize with you. He was getting told like he needed to get something done. It was a show, and he was stressing about it, and he even considered just compromising on his own style of writing. His he thought of compromising on what he believes to be the good narrative structure to use in order to just sort of throw something together.
Yeah.
But he decided like if an actual good show or good film, he doesn't really do film, but if an actual good episode of something is released, no one in like 5 years' time is going to go, "Oh, did you know that it came out a week late? Or did you know that he released it too late? He just didn't finish it in time." Like, no one's going to care about that. It's completely irrelevant. And if it's a good show, it's going to be making that company money. So he just thought, like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to do this properly.
Yeah.
No one's going to care that it's late. And if they really do, well, they can work with someone else.
Yeah. I think there's different attitudes needed for different points, and I can't say because I haven't gotten very far yet. Like, I've only been doing it for a short time, and I'm still not kind of floundering, still not entirely sure what I want to do with my art or with my creative energy.
However, it ain't gonna die though. Keep that in mind. Even if it seems really like dry, it won't die.
Yeah. But I think like I don't know. It's difficult, and this is my kind of where I'm battling, and this is why I've been thinking about taking a break for weeks, but I've constantly told myself, no, just do it. How hard is it to just keep doing these cartoons every day? And my battle was kind of with the idea that I don't really like this idea, but in the world of social media, it's kind of like I kind of likened it to going to finding your favorite cafe or something like that, right? And you go to your favorite cafe every single day, but the one day it's closed, or if their hours are a bit strange, or they run out of the thing that you like, it's very easy for you to just go, oh, well, I'll go to this other cafe, and then you lose that customer. Not that obviously that's a bit extreme, and most people don't do that, but it's like if you find something you like, the best thing is to know that it's always there. And I think that's very true with social media. So like if people get used to you doing content at a particular schedule, they're like, if it's late in any way, or if they lose that trust in you that you're gonna always be there, you can lose their viewership or whatever. Now I don't like that. I don't think that's any good. I don't agree with that mentality, but I think it does exist.
I have the little bit of pessimism I have for the audience that social media generally attracts actually is actually positive in this regard. Yeah. I believe if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. Yeah. Yeah. So if you aren't popping up, they're not going to search you up and then go, well, fuck this guy, and then unfollow. Yeah. I think it's more if you upload something that's genuinely like some sort of betrayal to the rest of your style, that's when you'll have people unfollowing. Like, they generally, like, they won't... I mean, I don't go through my likes on Facebook and go, oh, this guy hasn't posted in a while, just, like, remove. Or, like,
Yeah.
If I see a meme page starting to post links to like Junkie or like whatever crappy like BuzzFeed links, if I see that pop up, I'm just like, all right, you've been bought out by somebody.
Yeah.
That's when I unfollow or unlike.
Yeah.
Not generally because they haven't posted. And I think that's because my own work ethic is post when you have something good to post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's kind of the direction I want to go in now. Is I want to start now that I've clearly it's been good because doing that daily content. I think did use that method of what I just said. Like people knew that it was a cartoon coming every single day, and I managed to build a small audience, but nonetheless a relatively passionate one.
Like hundreds of people is fucking decent. Really.
Yeah, I know.
When you think about it,
it's funny. Like if you take it out of this time period, and if you think of that like 10 years ago, to have 100 people following you on social media was still relatively like exciting for an artist. And nowadays, like you'll see other accounts who have like 10,000 plus, and you're like, fucking, what is going on here? What is happening? But obviously, it's just being pessimistic, cynical. What? I don't know. One of those.
What I think about that is you can have like a smaller audience that genuinely are engaging with your shit, or you can have a fuck ton of people and it's chaff. Like half of them are just looking for the usual buzzwords that give them a chuckle. They're not like actually like there's actual thought and idea behind a lot of your cartoons that they won't actually engage with. Even if they've read it and they looked at it and just had a moment to go, I wonder what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, I've devoted 3 seconds to this and that's my usual engagement time. And then they keep scrolling.
Yeah.
Or you've got because you probably, if you think about it, there's probably a few people out there who are just liking it because it's there. And they're like, yep, he posted again. Yay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
and
I'm actually reading it, which is fine as well. Like that's not a problem for me.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really hurt anybody.
It's important to have those people. It's like people who always show up to your gigs, but probably couldn't name a song, but it's like, well, that's one more person in the door. That's actually huge help. It's a like is
especially if they chucked you $5 too.
Yeah. Well, on that note, donate to my fucking Patreon, motherfucker.
Oh man. So, all right.
Yeah.
You're I guess you're sort of shifting into the work ethic of sort of what I've been doing for a while. Except no, like because you still have a timetable, it's still ahead of me. Like
I'll still be putting out more.
Yeah. So yeah, my Patreon doesn't especially promise much. It just says I do things.
Yeah.
And I have still been doing things. I do quite a lot. It's just that I think I've posted one art piece in the past 2 months.
Yeah.
And like that only took me about maybe 2 weeks of on and off, very off, sometimes on, working on it. Rest of the time I've been working on music and a comic book.
Yeah.
But I actually do have anxiety about not fulfilling what's expected of me. Like partly in the back of my head, I do hear people going like, "Man, you don't do anything," or "You for the amount of free time you have, you aren't actually utilizing it effectively," or like, I mean, when you've got like a physical labor job, it is something you can just continue to do, just chip away at whatever task you have to get done, just constantly and consistently. And you can say, yeah, I worked for 8 hours constantly chipping away at this thing. It doesn't work like that when your art or your profession is to come up with an idea that sometimes is actually hiding behind even like self-hate. Even like you can be off-put, and also you can have a roadblock that's entirely based on some personal journey you have to go through and that's not something you just you clock in for.
Yeah.
You don't show up and then just start hammering away until you're finally finished. Like,
Well, that's where I've gotten at, and I think, and that's why I think I've burnt out is because it used to be that I would go to work every day, working in a cafe, and I'd usually come home with maybe 3 or 4 ideas that I've written down on a piece of paper and stuffed in my pocket, and I'd go over
nice.
them and thought, all right, that one's garbage, but this one's pretty good, and I'll turn that one into a cartoon, and that's usually the cartoon for the day.
Nice.
However, as I tried to I started trying to develop my style and just try different techniques visually, and so I went on the site Behance, and I would just scroll through endless amounts of artwork and photography and all kinds of design and shit like that, and find things I like, different color schemes and all that kind of shit, and and borrow from those, which has been huge, and that's how I've changed my style over time, which I don't think has changed like drastically, except for perhaps in terms of the color schemes has changed quite dramatically.
Well, I believe you're in the beginning your cartoons were less about, like, there was definitely aesthetic value. Like if I would say you actually have like a minimalist style to what you do.
Yeah.
Often your characters are quite small in the frame compared to the vast void that they're a part of.
Yeah, that's that. I've really enjoyed that. That's kind of developed.
I think it works well.
Yeah, especially for the topics.
Well, especially since some of them are themed on depression or whatever, and the guy is tiny in the frame, surrounded by emptiness, and that is an emotion in itself. But I was also going to say that I'm looking at one here. It's a guy jousting at a mirror.
Yeah.
And what I like about that is you've got the jousting lance or whatever it's called up close to the viewer, and you can see it stretch out, and then you've got a smaller version of him coming from a mirror as well. So that's actually not minimalist. It's got perspective to it. It's got depth. Like I don't mean depth as in conceptually. It's depth as in 3D space.
Yeah, I was surprised by that one. Depth and placing things in a 3D world has always been something I've struggled with. So I've been really excited to see those things come together over time, and that's a really good indication to the value of doing it every day. Is those kind of things will start to develop even without you noticing or trying particularly hard, which has been really exciting. But what I was going to say is, it started off because I was more excited for the ideas, or more excited about just the idea of doing cartoons in general. The ideas would come more throughout my day. Now it has, for probably like maybe 4 months, it's been much more of me sitting in front of Behance and just scrolling through endless amounts of art, but this time I'm looking for ideas for the cartoon for the day. And so I'll spend like 2 hours just sitting in front of a computer going, fuck, what am I going to do today? What is the idea? I don't have any thoughts in my head. And then I'll see something and it'll trigger something in my brain, and I'll twist an image around it into something different. Yeah. But it's become, that's more like a task. That is more like what you were saying before, like a physical task. It's closer to that than to actually
they're being overtaken by the idea in the beginning.
Yeah. And that's the most exciting part is when you have an initial idea out of thin air, or seemingly thin air, and then you get excited. That's the best part, usually. Anyway. But it's good. All right. You had the idea of looking at our work and self-criticizing, self-analyzing, about seeing where we peaked, in our opinion, and I guess also where was our lowest point creatively.
Oh, that's a good one actually. So let's say, do you have my body of work on your screen?
Yes, I do.
All right, I've got yours on my screen too, and I've done a bit of a scroll. You've got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots.
Oh, actually, hang on. Just give me a second. Let me have a this is stuff that should be done in the background, but for all the listeners at home, you can suck my balls. I'm just gonna do it.
We'll give you some links so you can look as well. If you
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I was gonna write down a little timestamp for the night. I'll throw that up, which you would have already seen it. If anyone was listening, you go back. I should have indicated earlier. Anyway, let's continue on with the podcast. Here we are, back with Coprolalia podcast. We're here with Giles Dodsworth, and we're looking at his artwork.
All right. So, let's see. I began doing this stuff.
I think
many times, at many moments in my life, I've been an emotional mess. Confused, like lonely, all of those things. And at one point, someone who I don't especially think is a very good person or nice or creative, they just enjoy being. They enjoyed their status as being like successful.
Yeah.
Even though it's really just they did well in school. That's the entirety of their success. And they were like mocking me for one reason or another, and just taking advantage of the fact that I didn't have the status within that group to defend myself, essentially. And I was looking around and I realized all these people were actually buying into that. And I suddenly realized, like, okay, I'm way better than the perception that is being thrust upon me right now. Like, I know that.
Yeah.
Some people see it. I know some really decent people who fucking adore me, and I adore them too. But in this particular situation, I realized I actually just couldn't fix that perception. So I decided, okay, I need to prove once and for all to myself and to the people around me that I can do things. I can actually create things. I can be competent, and I can bust out of whatever shitty perceptions are thrust onto me. So I decided I'd been gearing up to play music the same way that you have as well. But I just picked up this digital tablet that I'd bought on a whim and decided to like actually devote myself to drawing some incredible images, or at least attempt to draw incredible images. And somehow, like, it just started working out.
Yeah.
Suddenly I decided to put aside all of potential self-criticism. It's like I completely wiped all self-criticism clean and just went, I'm not going to stop myself at all. I'm not even going to tell myself not to do something. I just kept on doing it.
It does actually sound like we went through the same realization in terms of trying to push ourselves to work harder, to express ourselves, like to pursue this creative. Obviously, we've both always wanted to be creatives of some nature or another. I didn't realize there was that turning point for you at the start. That was that important. So that's really exciting.
I just realized, like, but I think one of the things that really bugged me is they thought I was stupid.
Yeah.
Which just boggled my mind, because like, I mean, one of the people who thought I was stupid and he was like joining in, he's just like, man, like, I forget what he said. So it was probably something to do with employment. And I was like, I can spell and write and articulate myself like far better than I've ever seen you do. And all of this guy's posts on Facebook, it's like misspelled. And this is not a dig against people who don't have great literacy skills. However, I have very good literacy skills. That's what I'm trying to say.
Humble brag.
And it was like, have you ever had like a person who maybe even and this is stereotyping a little bit. Say a guy comes up to you and he's talking like a total bogan, and him and his friends are all around you, and they're all just like, "Are you a retard?" Just like trying to mock you for being stupid, and you just like reach this point where you're like, I'm not gonna waste my time proving my intelligence to someone who probably can't actually comprehend whether or not I am intelligent anyway. I had this internal moment where I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm not trying to impress these people anymore. So the initial one was, I want to show to these people that I am capable and competent.
Yeah.
It eventually became, wait, actually, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of my artwork I'm doing for myself, but I am more than happy for it to have an effect on people around me in an inspiring way. And most of all, I wanted to do it for free, or at least like pay as if you want to, because I just don't see the current state of capitalism like ethically supporting any artistry, really. I don't see how it works.
I think we're entering into a new era of how finances work for creatives and just for people in general.
Yeah.
Hopefully, anyway.
I hope so. Well, the actual capital that I earned from doing my artwork was overwhelming like love from people for it. My mum and dad no longer worrying about me suffering in poverty.
Yeah.
Even though like I didn't exactly have any more money, but they were no longer worried about me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, no, he's doing something. So
Yeah.
For a lot of my friends, it was a similar realization. Like, oh, okay, he's not a total idiot fool. I have no problem with being a fool, by the way. It's when other people think that like, oh, he's just a fool that I can't stand. Like, no, I'm doing that for fun.
Yeah.
Don't suggest that I'm lesser because of it.
And for exploration purposes. Obviously, knowing you for a long time, you've always been someone who entertains almost any idea that's brought their way. And through that, this actually plays into the same idea of what we were talking about with America and Kanye.
Right.
How because Kanye and America are so chaotic, and there's just like this constant stream of consciousness type of thought and content. One, due to so many people being involved with it being America, and Kanye just being fucking Kanye. But I've seen, just a similar way of functioning with you is that you let any idea, any thought kind of have its way through your mind. Like it's not like isn't as blocked as some people's are, and through that it allows these kind of thoughts to come out, and it allows you a better understanding of where people are coming from when they have different perspectives, or
for sure.
Yeah.
I've entertained some crazy shit, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And it's important. And that's that is actually the role of the artist in society, is to explore themes, explore them to their worst and to their best versions of themselves, and to see what kind of value they actually hold to humanity.
This brings up a thought I had recently. Are you ready to delve into magic?
Yeah, sure. Or is it in terms of this conversation, or just in general in my life?
Just in general, yeah. Because after our conversation about Alan Moore, I also started looking into some more stuff.
I think I've got
There was a good wisecrack video.
There it is. Sorry, it's so delayed. I'm sure Alan Moore would be very excited about having an air horn come after his name. Yep.
My brain tried to do another pun, but all I made was an awkward silence. So there's a good wisecrack video that's about Alan Moore and about his beliefs in Hermeticism, which, by the way, like my older sister is already very into Hermeticism, and she's been trying to get me involved, and I reckon it's not really a far reach for me to start embodying some of those Hermetic beliefs. I think they're quite interesting, and also just magic should just be a thing.
Well, his way of describing it too, his way of talking about it made it seem a lot more rational to me, and I think that's the biggest barrier with anything like this, with talking about spirituality or magic or anything like that. Like, when you put it into the world of the mystical and the fantasy, it can seem a bit absurd when people are believing in it so wholeheartedly. But when you kind of talk about it in a way that suggests it's connected to reality a bit more as we know it, like, and I think that's actually kind of a reasonable request, because to just ask everybody to forget everything they know about how the world works and to just trust that this is all here is pretty crazy. So to have these little connections between the two of the mystical and the reality, and then you can start to wrap your head around certain concepts and just believe that, like, oh, they're not like this huge otherworldly force that we don't understand. They're different versions of energies that we're even that word, like energy, automatically conjures up certain ideas. Like, you think, oh, here's this motherfucking hippie boy, he's gonna spew energy out of his third eye all over me.
Oh, if I touch your crystal, I'm gonna be introduced to the devil.
Yeah. But things like that, like things like crystals and stuff like that, you can kind of understand how everything's based on one's perception, and so therefore you can actually kind of give power to objects because of the way you perceive them. And so it's like the fact that, well, like giving mystical powers to religious items and stuff like that, like they actually are genuinely powerful because we believe them to be so. And I don't think
there's a genuine effect on the consciousness of an individual who is baptized, for example.
Yeah.
Like, you're just dunking their head in the river, but some people can actually, and you see it in these big Christian rally, like evangelical touring people. I don't know what to call them.
I think
when they hold someone's forehead and they just start like yelling at them like "demon be gone." People can actually have these like mild seizures or like fainting because their brain, somewhere in their brain, there is actually the ability to like freak yourself out.
Yeah.
For lack of a better like description, you can actually, like, you can faint from stress. You can like, your hair can like actually turn white from stress, but you don't know how to consciously do that. If you give the person in front of you, if you truly believe it through delusion or whatever, they can have that effect on you. They can really send your biology into this like shock state.
I've been watching a lot of stuff about neural networks and how they work, and I have a very, very basic understanding of this, as I think I have a very, very basic understanding of everything we're talking about in every episode of our podcast, so I guess I don't need to put a big disclaimer there.
Yeah.
People are used to us not knowing shit about anything we're talking about. Nonetheless, here we bloody go. I'm going to delve in anyway. Just the idea of how neural networks learn is basically the same as how a human mind works. Is just like taking in constant information and slowly making mistakes and analyzing and getting better every time. And it's like so the way the neural network works is like you can just feed it endless amounts of images of the same kind of thing, and it'll slowly start to understand, like, oh, this is a face. And that's how facial recognition works. Is you just feed a neural network ridiculous amount of faces, and it starts to figure out what actually makes up a face, so it can see it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, I don't know if that ties into this, but just that just kind of came to mind with the idea of like, because it's all based on perception and the human mind has learnt all these things through trial and error, and the information we're given is not everything. Like there's socially how we've learnt, which is usually a very narrow view of the world due to your the people around you and who's taught you how the world works, and for most of us, it's our parents. Or if it's a book, or if it's like a religion, or whatever.
Yeah.
You've been basically taught through this trial and error of you've taken these thoughts on, you've taken these. You're viewing the world through these lenses of how you. I'm trying to think how to describe this. You know what I'm saying? I think. Like you're seeing the world.
I can elaborate on what you're saying, but I also want to quickly say I actually don't think that stress can turn your hair white.
Oh.
I'm looking. I just quickly read up, and I'm just like, I don't know where that came from. Actually, it's probably like fucking X-Men or something.
It's definitely. I think it's just like maybe a myth or like a folktale kind of thing. Not a folktale, but yeah.
As far as like social conditioning, when it comes to like giving things power or having them have an effect on you, think about if you grew up in India and you see the swastika on a building nearby, and you from your personal cultural experience, that's not a scary symbol. You don't think that the people in that building are white supremacists who are going to round you up and kill you. Because where you're from, your part of the world, that is a peaceful religious symbol. Yet in Western, and I'm not trying to make any sort of point here. I'm just trying to say
the power of the symbol has changed so drastically based
that's
on the
a
way
scary symbol depending on where you are. Yeah. The 8 lines that make up the swastika have an actual effect on your mood and on your you can actually start to feel quite bad or even afraid if someone's got it tattooed on them.
Yeah.
Like that's a real effect that simple lines are having on you.
Well,
So
every bad mood we have, like there's obviously there's chemicals in our bodies that can affect our mood and things like that. That's why we take drugs, because they rebalance things or
imbalance them in a way that
that's just all a big juggling act, but that's not what we're here. That's not what we're talking about. But yeah, like, so it's this moving towards that idea that everything you know is in your own head, and so it's like when people cry to a movie, essentially it's kind of the same thing. It's like, how did that physically move you so much? If you're in the right headspace, and if you're taught that something means a lot more, like you're feeling such a strong emotion, but if you're watching a film and you feel that strong emotion, you're like, oh, this is just a sad film. But if you're in a church and you're told this is actually this feeling that you're feeling, which might be the same feeling physically, but you're taught that it's something much bigger, it's a greater force outside of your body, then you will believe it. Then it takes on a whole new characteristic, and a whole new lesson is learnt through that. This is slightly different. Here's a slightly different version of that. That just because there was a story. This is just relating to what happened to me today, which is this is just a process of me growing up. Slowly, is working in hospitality for so long now. I've dealt with customers yelling at me, and I usually know when I'm in the wrong or when I'm in the right. But there's always a pain. There's that fight or flight kind of sensation, like, and you want to just crawl away and hide. You want to get away from the confrontation for the most part. Some people like confrontation. I don't understand it. I don't. I freak out in confrontation.
Yeah, same. I cannot stand it.
So I've had people get angry at me, not quite yell, but I've had definitely confrontation in hospitality. But today I had one where it was simply I didn't serve them a takeaway cup to the table, and that's just the manager's policy for different reasons. I think it's a bit of a silly rule because it's kind of for environmental reasons, but if, in my opinion, if it was for environmental reasons, we should just get environmental cups. But regardless.
Yeah, right.
The point is, though, that I said, no, we don't do them here. That's the manager's policy. And this guy was just like, well, it's the first time I've ever heard of it. I've been getting it all the time. Like, well, okay, but this is my instructions. I'm just doing my job. We don't do it to the table.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, all right, fine. And he gets up and says, that's very... what he say? He was just... he walked away in a huff, but as he walked away, he said, that's bad service, mate, in such a condescending way. And normally, as I said, in confrontation, I get like, oh, Jesus, I mean, I know that I was right in that situation because that's just not how you talk to somebody. But, But normally I get this shitty feeling in my gut that makes me feel gross and uneasy and small. Yeah. But in this case, I was just like, fuck you. and it was, I've taught myself over time to have a much stronger confidence in my own perception of these situations and my own understanding of that kind of where we're both coming from. And so it was a lot easier for me to go, no, I am confident that I was right in that situation, and I don't feel this confrontation anymore.
I had a similar situation yesterday. So I was on the bus riding back from getting some groceries, and I had a bag of bread and Doritos in my hand. Mm-hmm. A whole bunch of young people got on the bus. I'm talking like probably year 7 or 8.
Oh, Jesus.
And they're like, oh, can we have some Doritos? Can we have some Doritos? Just, I had my headphones on, didn't really register it. One of the other guys on the bus, because there was a bunch of adults on the bus too. Yeah. One of them tapped me on the shoulder, and they're just like, "Look, they're trying to bother you for Doritos. Just tell them no or whatever." And I was just like, "No." I looked over at them and just went, "No," and then turned around, put my headphones back on. Apparently, they didn't stop. Right?
Yeah.
They were just like, they thought they were annoying me too, and that I was just like getting cooked or something. Getting mad. I don't mean getting cooked. Getting
human. Yeah.
Just like boiling, just getting to a slow boil. They thought they were fucking with me, but I just honestly couldn't hear them because I've just gotten some really good headphones.
Yeah.
I stepped off the bus at my stop. They got off at the same stop.
Oh, Jesus.
So this is where I was like, okay, you've crossed the line now. Yeah. I started walking back to my house. And a couple of them followed me.
Yeah.
And then they kept on going like, please, can we have some Doritos? I took my headphones off because I could see they were following me. I just looked straight at one of them, the one who was like leading them.
Yeah.
And I just said, can you seriously leave me alone? Just like stared her in the eye. And I could see she had this moment where she no longer felt invulnerable. She no longer felt invincible with her friends, because I was just like, it didn't look like I was going to hit her or anything. I wasn't physically threatening her.
Yeah.
I just looked at her, took my headphones off, and I said, seriously, can you leave me alone? And she just went, okay, and just turned around and walked off.
I love
So yeah, I can't do confrontation, but in that moment I was like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with me telling her to go away right now, except like, if I do it politely, then I completely won. Just like, yeah. And a guy who got off the bus with me and also was heading the same direction, he was just like, he was so nice to me. He just said, yeah, they were bothering me for cigarettes. So I just like lit one up in front of them and just said no as well, and just kept on walking. So we chatted about how to deal with people like that. It was good. I basically made a friend because of those. I want to call those rats, Bendigo rats. That's what I want to call them.
I think that's a pretty accurate description of them.
Bendy goners.
It's I think like I always I get concerned, or not concerned, just like I get embarrassed when I think about situations like those, and where I know I struggle to react in a way that I'm comfortable with, and struggle to have confidence in myself.
Right.
And I think there's just still that expectation that you're supposed to be strong. And I don't know if this is just for guys, but just in general, like, you know, you're supposed to be able to take care of yourself. You're supposed to handle yourself. But for so many people out there, and this is including adults, like this is including people who have grown up, they still can't handle these confrontations. They can't handle this stuff, and they don't have that confidence in themselves.
My mouth dries up. It's like once you look like you can't handle yourself, you've also lost another battle too.
Yeah.
And so when you try and stand up for yourself, when you like your mouth's dry and your like fucking hands are shaking, and you're like, can you stop? It's just like,
yeah.
It's even more just like heartbreaking.
But I guess it's good to know that, like, I don't know. I know it's so stupid to think, but I've still constantly got this in my head that, like, as a 24-year-old, I should be able to handle this shit. I should be able to handle so much. But social interactions, dealing with confrontations, stuff like that, like, my fucking heart skips a beat. Like, I'm still so fucking scared. But as we've just now discussed, it is getting better. Things do get better, and I think doing the artwork and stuff like that is a big part of it for me. That's and I think seeing from your story before, that seems like the same case for you as well. That like you you're kind of proving to other people that here I am worth something. I'm doing something. So get the fuck off my back. But it's much more for us to say, like, this is my intelligence. I can actually kind of honestly look at myself in the mirror and think, I am extremely intelligent. I know I'm not extremely intelligent in certain fields, in a lot of fields. Spelling and fucking handwriting is a big one. And quick thinking is a bit of a slow one for me when it comes to things like maths and all kinds of shit. But and these are silly things to measure your intelligence on.
But you don't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
But observational intelligence, I think, is a big one for us, because that's obviously what our artwork is. It's analyzing the world and thinking about it critically and making a rational judgment on it, and which a lot of people don't have, but they have other intelligences. It can take a long time to find that confidence in yourself. But bloody keep at it, boys. I guess is my point.
I want to leave off that point with we also, as artists, there's actually a lot of value in the fact that we are sensitive.
Yeah.
We should be affected by the things that happen to us. We should feel strongly when we are feeling something. Like, those are all valuable things. If it means that if we're thrown into a pit, we're ill-equipped, like, that's why we've designed a society that doesn't fucking throw us into a pit to fight lions. In fact, most of the sparring you'll do in your entire life will be verbal, and it'll probably not be yelling at one another. Like, I don't know. Society has created sensitive white guys. Like, I'm sure if our dads beat us up if at any sign of weakness, then maybe we'd be tough guys, but we'd also be fucking miserable. Yeah,
absolutely. I've met plenty of people who have clearly gone through not so much situations like that. I don't know their personal history, but you can usually see it in someone when you see them react in a certain way. Like that was like damage control there. That wasn't rational thinking. That was you reacting because it conjures images of your past, or like you feel weak and you lash out, which is true. Natural instinct. I totally understand where it's coming from, but everyone needs
back from our animal experiences.
Obviously
at one point, we had to actually like physically hunt and kill things, but we don't have to do that anymore. So maintaining that skill, sure, physical fitness is actually good for the body and may help you live a bit longer, but you don't have to train that by like fighting people at every time. Every time you feel confronted, like swinging your fists, that's not going to make you a strong person.
people are swinging their fists verbally and emotionally all the time.
Right, true.
One
And
that
emotionally too.
One that comes to mind is like people who have been told by their parents, like, you got to fucking get yours. You got to get out there because the world's gonna fucking hurt you. The world's gonna try and pull you down.
It's gonna take it from you.
Yeah, and then they just learn that they have to basically like railroad everyone. They have to throw everyone under the bus in order to get there first. They have to be first in line. That's what that's capitalism, baby.
Yeah, I've been thrown under the bus before too, and it's just like well, maybe you thought I was gonna do that, and maybe you thought that's the competition that we're having right now, but like I was never gonna throw you under the bus.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's also if you that's just poor. You're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna get very far if you try and get in front of people. If you try and take things from people in order to progress further, like
some very successful people have made their careers out of doing that.
True, but and it is certainly one way of doing things. I would first of all say I don't know how happy they could possibly be when they've cut down so many people in front of them and around them. Like, how would their friends trust them? And I'm sure most people around them would know that that's a method that they use in their life, because you'll see it pretty quickly when you're around a person like that. In any situation, they will try and muscle you out of the way. Be it physically or verbally. What was I fucking saying? Oh yeah, but if you, clearly, one of the best methods is to cultivate friendship and cultivate support, because those people are also doing things. Those, especially in the arts or anything like that, like knocking down other bands or knocking down other artists is not gonna. It'll get you quick drama views, because people fucking love drama for some reason. But if you are the person who supports other bands, then they'll be the first person to call you. When they need help, or when you need help, and they'll be the first one. Well, you helped me last time, so I'll help you this time, and then you all climb the ladder together. And it's much more effective.
Oh yeah, the steadiest ascent up the ladder is through supporting a community of other people.
Yeah,
because because it does happen that like your ascent will slow down or even plateau, and you no longer are the key to your own success. It's someone else's part within that whole. It's your one cog within like a larger thing that's succeeding, and your cog slows down and another cog picks up the slack. That can happen.
If you think of any particularly successful artist, they usually come out of a scene or a movement. It's very rarely one person just jumps on the scene and suddenly brings a brand new sound or a brand new way of thinking. Like, it's usually a group that all were interested in this one thing, and they kind of cultivate this knowledge and let it and grow it amongst themselves, and then that usually gets recognition and people grow. Like,
I like the fact that music scenes do develop within sort of communities.
Yeah, well, it's usually like a reaction to a certain situation or a certain time. It's like looking at punk music. Like, punk music wasn't just one punk band started the sound, and then it was a whole bunch of copycats. It was a reaction to a situation. It was a reaction to the times that were happening in the UK. And it's not just one band. It's not just, and then same with artists, and same with technology companies. Fucking anything. Like, you don't progress. It's so much harder to progress by yourself.
Oh yeah, I think what's been interesting to see is when an app is released, and then a better version of that app is released, and then the old one is dropped.
Yep.
But then another app comes along that's even simpler and smoother, and then that other app that had just got success has now become obsolete. And that's a process that won't end. Basically, a better thing will come along that does it easier.
It's evolution. That's how we're here. That's as human beings. That's how we're here.
Now we've got a letter.
Oh, sweet.
I haven't read it yet, but it is from our friend who enjoys tricking us to say impolite things sometimes. But so I'm going to give it a shot this time because Rye usually reads it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so
Do we need
All
to
right,
break
here we
down?
go.
Yeah, let's how am I going to do it later?
yeah, the letter theme.
Letter time. You've heard that theme 1,000 times, haven't you, boys? You know what it means. All right, go for it.
Here we go. Dear Coprolalia,
Ooh, that's us.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
We listen to you boys at work. My friend told me this podcast was the shit and to check it out. I didn't though. Just kidding. Obviously I did, lol. Real quick, hi mum, I'm on a podcast. And a big shout out to Marky Boy. Thanks for helping me with my tax, you Jewish slur freak. Happy birthday, mate. In brackets, he loves it. Anyway, I heard some of the other letters that have been read out on other episodes. My friends keep specifically sending me links to letter segments for some reason, ? And I've noticed a bit of a theme going on. They're always for Rye. Okay. Coincidental that I've picked up on that as well. Here we go. So after hearing all the other letters, it's clear that literally anyone can write in and you'll read it. So I figured, screw it, you know? I just want to quickly tell Rye, your great speaking voice makes me wet, mate. Would you consider making some ASMR videos for me to fall asleep to?
Sure. Let's pick a topic. I'll fucking do one right fucking now for you. Let's
keep up with the good work, boys. Looking forward to this week's upload. H3 can suck it. Am I right? I can agree with that. He's gone very far downhill, unfortunately. Thanks for the laughs. XOXO, love Andre the Giant if he was a African American slur.
Oh my gosh. Okay, great. All right, let's end up on an ASMR video. I'm gonna read here we go, a news article about Cardi B.
All right, this is for you, listener.
I don't know how ASMR works. Normally they have little tiny combs and they brush things and they do little bits and pieces. I'm just going to read an article.
Do you have a fidget spinner?
I've got you can listen to the fidget spinner really loud and then I'll read an article really, really loud. Let's enjoy that.
Actually, that's really interesting. Sorry, I'm killing the vibe.
Yeah, you totally ruined it. So we'll start again. We all remember. I need to do it quieter. ASMR is ridiculous. We all remember where we were when we found out that Santa wasn't a real person. Just as we do when we figured out that there's only one Olsen twin. But where were you when you figured out that Donald Glover and Charles Gambino were not, in fact, two completely different people? For Cardi B, as it turns out, it was more a mere few days ago on Twitter. Yes, it would seem that blessed, wild-brained Cardi had no idea that Glover and Gambino were one and the same, and lived out the realization for all the world to see. On ye olde Twitter, Cardi firstly remarked on the close physical resemblance of the two, before the light bulb went off and her world changed forever. This has been Coprolalia, a stupid podcast that we record in Australia. There you go. There's a fun fact. We're in Australia.
Yeah, we went in a weird location this time.
No, this was just a nice personal talk, a nice personal chat about where we're at. I think it's good. I'm right. Bye.
I'm Giles. Bye.
Good podcast.